you must be Jim Shoemaker, the honorary guest for the meeting. The dinner party is just about to begin. Come right in.
So I told Marilyn to stop asking for Johnny. He's a busy man. He's got things to do, people to see, and not to mention, we got Khrushchev and the Soviets on the tail like there ain't no tomorrow.
Who's Marilyn?
Oh, I heard of Marilyn Monroe. She's quite the dime in a dozen.
Marilyn isn't a problem, I'm telling you. These damn Soviets just don't know how to quit. Oh hey Jim, right on time.
Alright folks, let's get this party started. The issue we got on our hands is hot stuff. And I'm not talking about Maryland. What I wanted to discuss is our generation's greatest threat, terrorism. What better way to find a solution than to talk to some of the greatest leaders of our nation? How long is this going to take?
I have things to do, Mr. President.
Gentlemen, be prepared to stay here a while. These are serious issues that we will be discussing. Let me start introducing the topic to some of you who might not be aware of the situation. Terrorism has been plaguing our nation for the past few decades. As Commander-in-Chief, my highest priority is the security of the American people. Over the last several years, we have consistently taken the fight to terrorists who threaten our country. We took out Osama bin Laden and much of Al-Qaeda's leadership in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We've targeted Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Yemen, and we recently eliminated the top commander of its affiliate in Somalia. We've done so while bringing more than 140,000 American troops home from Iraq. 140,000 troops. And drawing down our forces in Afghanistan, where our combat mission will end later this year. Thanks to our military and counterterrorism professionals, America is safe.
Then what exactly is the problem?
But now there's a new threat. A threat that has emerged in the form of
What is this is?
Former President Roosevelt, it is pronounced ISIS, not ISIS. ISIS, also known as the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, takes its origins from Al-Qaeda, the organization that was founded by Osama bin Laden, and currently it is the most powerful and effective extremist jihadi group in the world.
So what's the solution, Mr. President?
Let me start with my opinion. My solution is simple. We need to send in more drone support. We cannot risk boots on the ground and more casualties on the battlefield.
I agree. Trying to solve this conflict in a non-violent manner is the most strategic and efficient way in solving the problem. However, increasing the amount of drones sent overseas may create an image of aggressiveness that we don't need.
But the reason why ISIS has resurfaced is because President Obama put out so many troops from the Middle East. The smart move would be to keep the troops in the Middle East until all threat of terrorist activity is exterminated.
But former President Bush tried to acknowledge what happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Although it came down to the wire, patience was a virtue, and that is the core to success in American foreign affairs.
You think one time where patience was used is a good strategy during a time of global pandemic? You may have found success fighting against one enemy, but terrorism is a whole different ballgame when you can't even distinguish a real enemy.
Georgie has a point. In foreign affairs, we must make up our minds that whether we wish it or not, we are a great people and must play a great part in the world. It is not open to us to choose whether we will play that part or not. We have to play it. We must take forceful action against terrorism in all parts of the world because that is our responsibility as a world power.
I do not believe that we need to fight in order to win this conflict. Fighting isn't always the greatest solution. In our situation, the solution is to help and support Iraqi and Kurdish forces with training, intelligence, and equipment. We will send an additional 475 service members to Iraq And I have said before, these American forces will not have a combat mission. We will not get dragged into another ground war in Iraq.
But that seems to be the only way to crush ISIS. Through sheer force, combat is necessary. Don't you guys remember my big stick policy?
Big stick policy?
Yes, my big stick policy, where we should speak softly, but carry a big stick. This means that we need to have a military prepared at all times, and use a military when necessary. And by the sounds of this ISIS, sounds like the perfect time to go attack them. Do you really believe that is necessary? That is my policy, and I will stick to it. Former President Roosevelt. In a situation like this, there are too many factors that can ruin such an aggressive military operation. There are too many risks involved when trying to invade foreign lands through combat. Look at what happened with the Bay of Pigs invasion. The failed military invasion of Cuba strengthened Castro's dictatorship and led to the Cuban Missile Crisis through the stronger bonds between the USSR and Cuba. There were factors that weren't considered that ruined the operation, and it hurt America in the long run.
This is what happens when young, untrained, mother-loving Boston boys run our country. They ruin it.
With all due respect, Mr. Former President Bush, are you not the reason we're discussing this in the first place? You yourself have brought ruin to this nation.
Hey, come on, Boston boy. Laura and I always play this game.
You stinking Republican piece of...
Gentlemen, as the first President of the United States, I demand that we each give each other some respect. Now, in the midst of all of this, the duty of holding a neutral conduct may be inferred, without anything more from the obligation which justice and humanity impose on every nation, in cases in which it is free to act, to maintain and violate the relations of peace and amity towards other nations.
Neutrality is no longer an option because of clear terroristic threats on both the international and domestic front of the United States. However, it is prudent to consider that there are consequences, like Kennedy was referring to, when a nation takes clear belligerent action against another.
What really intrigues me is that we keep talking about terrorism in the world. I don't think that is a problem for Americans. It is important to acknowledge that peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations entangling alliances with none is the best foreign policy. After doing extended research in this era, I realized there are numerous problems with terrorism in America. Are we not considering all the terrorist attacks that happened within the past decade in our nation? The Boston Marathon, the recent Texas cartoon contest shooting, and the emergence of numerous Americans who are willing to join the cause in the Middle East. This is the problem that needs to be researched and resolved before foreign policy can even be brought up. Uprising within the nation is totally unacceptable and must be crushed.
I would like to disagree, former President Jefferson. The reason these issues are problematic in the United States is because of influences from the outside world. We need to stop the problems outside of the United States, because only that will solve the problems we have within the nation. Let me just say this. Domestic policy can only defeat us. Foreign policy can kill us. It is clear that foreign threats have a clear priority over domestic issues, especially as a global superpower. We became a superpower? What happened to Britain and France?
Yes, former President Washington, we are the most powerful nation in the world. Britain has declined from its glory days, and France is part of the European Union.
A European Union? That's pathetic.
Oi, what are you guys even doing? It sounds like a bunch of butchering turkeys in here. There's too much talk. You all said that we are in a crisis. So what are you waiting for? When the time for action arrives, stop thinking and go in. We must have had a bunch of wussies as presidents after me. Hey, someone duel me! I dare you!
That lad is crazy. Yeah, Jim, sorry you had to see that.
So back to our original discussion. It is clear that we must focus on the foreign issues at hand because that will eventually solve our internal issues. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
All right. You folks, this issue is never going to be solved.
No, Jefferson, no.
What has this nation come to? Will we ever be able to solve this problem?
I think this issue has to be discussed more before a plan can be installed. What do you all say we come up with a meeting tomorrow?
Jim, what do you say we meet up at your place tomorrow? Good.
Perfect. Boy, Bush, I'm sorry I threw those shoes at you. I was really heated up in the moment, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, Bobby, it's fine. You know, those shoes are really easy to dodge, actually. They had some aerodynamic capacities to them. So, you know, the ones that Iraqi journals threw, those were really hard to avoid because they didn't throw shoes.
No, they didn't.
He threw sandals.
Did somebody say scandals?
Former President Washington, do I have your permission to beat the living crap out of this man? Permission granted. Freaking Harding!
At this moment, Harding realized he messed up.